All right, welcome guys. Hi, this is the Holt and Norman SVP World Leaders Call. So we're super excited you guys can join us today. And I asked the famous Brian Dill to also join us this morning or afternoon. Hi, Brian.
Howdy, howdy.
We
It pretty much never matters what Brian says. Whatever comes out of his mouth, people are like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I know.
And most of the time it's accurate. Most of the time.
You know.
So we have so much coming in July for you guys, and we're going to jump into some of that. But we wanted to start with, I asked Brian if he'd do a little corporate recap for us, kind of how June wrapped up. And then I just saw an exciting email go out, Brian. So I don't know if you want to tell them about that or if I should, but
You should.
I'll turn it over to you.
Masks with designs, beautiful designs. I actually, I did a recording yesterday with Amy for the new products. Okay, got a couple people's attention, and she had the floral mask on, and it's beautiful. Like they are really nice designs, and they look good. The camo one looks really good for guys, so I know, and the geometric, both those for the gentlemen out there, they're gonna look really good. The floral, like I said, it's beautiful, and the kids is just fun. So excited about that. Limit of 6, and we have, this is the first go around, and then at National Conference, we will hopefully have, I'm knocking on wood, a bunch more that arrive. We're still dealing with some of the challenges with shipments and all that good stuff, but all the new products will be here by National Conference. All of them.
Cool. So does that mean customers should be able to order masks by National Conference?
Fingers are crossed. Fingers are crossed. We shall see. We shall see how this, I believe, and this is world according to Brian Dill, so don't quote me on this. I believe tomorrow's going to be a good test. Today and tomorrow, a good test to see how systems work and all that good stuff with the masks.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. So, do you want me to recap June?
Yeah, if you can tell us some home office stats about June, that would be great, because then I'm going to tell them how amazing they all did as a team.
So I want to preface this with, you know, I love numbers, and I think numbers tell a certain part of the story. So when we say that we were 142% above June of 2019, clearly, any company that is growing at that level is going to experience some challenges. You know, it just doesn't happen. And on publicly traded companies, when it happens, their stock goes through the roof, and you hear a lot of hooping and hollering. But to be honest with you, we can't mess around with all that stuff. We're too busy. And so 142%, what that means is our products are getting in a lot more people's hands. Our people are starting to know about Norwex and starting to experience Norwex. And along with that are some really amazing promotions and some really amazing paychecks. And, you know, the best part is to see some dreams come true. All the people who earned Cancun, to see that on Facebook, to see first-time achievers, to see people who never, ever, ever thought they would be able to achieve something like that, achieve it. It's just, there's not a feeling, or honestly, and not a number out there that gives you that feeling to see people achieve greatness.
And
Couple
actually,
other-
Brian, while you're talking, we have a lot of first-time earners on this call. And so go ahead and keep talking, but if you earned the trip this year, put it in the comments because
Love
we
that.
also want to celebrate you.
Love it. We will have, last year we had the most achievers, 780 something pure achievers. We're going to guess, because we're still finalizing everything, that will be over 1,000 achievers.
Wow.
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah. Now that brings up a whole other conversation, but we're not getting into that right now.
The answer is yes. We're still
The answer is yes. So we had over 4,900 new consultants join Norwex in the month of June. And I'm going to say that again. We had over 4,900 people join Norwex in the month of June. There was no join for free. There was no reduced qualifications. In fact, it was our highest ever RDQ was in the month of April with 6,900. So think about that. We were 2,000 less people just with a regular month. And the reason I bring that up is because what that tells you is what you have to offer is vital, what you have to offer is impactful, and what you have to offer goes far beyond an EnviroCloth, a polishing cloth, a mop. Because people aren't joining Norwex. I say this all the time, people join you. And what that is your confidence coming out, your ability to share what you have to offer, and other people grabbing onto that. So again, congratulations on that. One stat that you probably won't hear us talk about much, but I think is really important to share with you guys. And think about when people come in during the month. Usually there's a nice growth of people during the month, and then at the month end, there's tends to be a push because we tend to let that happen. But 74% of the people who joined in the month of June engaged in the month of June.
Whoa.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so 3 out of every 4 people who joined in the month of June engaged in the month of June. So what that tells me and what that tells the future is that people are coming in, they're engaging right away. And what we've known about people who engage right away is that they are more successful once they have these parties, once they start realizing there's income potential by joining Norwex, that they can start understanding what this thing of Norwex is. And that's really helpful because that helps you as leaders be confident in saying, when you come in and you get started, you're going to have success right away. Couple more numbers. We have the largest leadership count we have ever had in company history. We have more leaders today than we have had in the 26 years in Norwex history. And that is new leaders, but what we're also seeing is leaders re-promote to positions, especially at the TC and SL level. They're back engaged, their people are back engaged, and they're ready to go. And if anyone has ever talked to me about someone re-promoting to a position, that is simply the hardest thing to do when you've already achieved that one position, because it's so much what's up in here between your ears. And those that can do that, I just hats off. Anyone who promotes, hats off. But those that re-promote, absolutely, it's so much fun to see. A couple out of the norm stats I'll give you. Percentage of new TCs that promote from leaders, so leaders promoting TCs, is about 85%.
Hey, Evie. Oh, never mind.
About 85% leaders are promoting TCs. So that's really fun to see that leaders, are sharing this. And I was talking with a leader this morning, and we were having a great conversation. And I said, you know, what we have to be careful of is we use the term leadership when it comes to TC. But the TCs, those consultants have no idea what a TC is, what leadership is. They didn't sign up for that. They don't know what that is. So we're looking at our, you know, we always look at verbiage and things like that, but we also have to be real careful on saying, you know what, come be a TC. Well, first of all, I don't know what a TC is, so I'm not even going to talk to you about it. But it really is that invitation of moving someone to that next level and understanding that when they move to the next level, they're growing a team and they have the ability to earn additional income versus just parties. So that's something that we're very careful on, and you're going to see us more careful on how we talk about that. Last number I want to give you.
Sorry, Brian, can I just interrupt 1 second? I
course
like how you said that. And that's actually how I talk to a lot of my new consultants about it, is there's another way to earn income through Norwex. And I'd love to chat with you about that rather than talking about, hey, do you want to promote to team coordinator? But just talking about there's another way to earn income. Let's have a chat about that.
And I don't know, I think I learned this at conference, but I always say, very similar to Suzanne, if you want to unlock another stream of income is the verbiage that I like to use, because I'm like, that's in their hands then. I mean, at that point, like, you get to unlock it if you want. And I tend to like that because it's not me telling them that they should do that. It's really them making a decision. And as you guys know, when people decide on a business, when it belongs to them, they tend to do it more likely. Brian, there are a couple of questions. So when you're done with this last stat, I want to circle back to the questions on some of the stats.
Very good.
And then I wanted to help. I had some things on that too, like break it down and make it more user friendly for them on the stats. Yeah.
The other thing with income and TCs, be careful of the word only. Oh, it's only 50 or 75 or $100. It's only this. Because as leaders, you've grown to a certain expectation of income. But as a TC, especially in these days and times, that 50, 75, 100, whatever it is vital. When you can show them that they can consistently do that month after month after month, they're staying with you forever. So the word only, if we could take those two words out of our vocabulary, it would be immense. Last thing I want to share with you. New team coordinators for the month of June. I think North America, we had over 700 promotions, and new team coordinators just in the United States was nearly 300.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very
so lots of fun stats. The one thing I always look at is leadership count and new consultant numbers. How many new consultants we have, because that really is a strong indicator of the future. And both those numbers are just off the charts, exceptional. Because the number of consultants you have, we actually have a formula that every month we say, okay, based on the number of consultants we have, times activity count, times productivity, kind of gives us a window of where our sales should be. Last several months, that's kind of been blown out of the water, but that's okay. Math sometimes gets blown out of the water.
Yeah. Before we get to questions, Lindsay, can I just go back to some of Brian's numbers and rephrase this a little bit? Because I think most Norwex consultants and leaders don't come from a business background, right? So when we say things like up 142%, let's put that into actual people. And so I will tell you, everyone in my downline, which everybody on this call, you all are a part of that, we were up 169.5% year over year for June. So Brian, what's the average spend right now per customer? Are we still saying roughly 65?
Oh no, it is right now 78.
Okay.
Wow.
So
So
let's
we
just
say
talk,
75 to be conservative.
Mhm.
okay, so let's just talk about how many houses then our team impacted last June. When I take the numbers, last June, we brought Norwex into, let's say, roughly 34,800 homes. So that is a lot of people. But if we take this year, 75, 94,000. So think about the numbers that way. You know, 34,000 homes impacted versus 94,000. Does that give you guys chills? Like, I'm getting goosebumps. Think about
Straight
that.
up.
So we can look at like up 169%, or we can say like, that's amazing. The number of households that we impacted. You guys, that's almost, yeah, that's close to 100,000 households. That's like a city, right?
Mhm.
Does that help anyone at all visualize like what the increase is? Yeah. Okay, Lindsay, what were some of the questions that you had?
One of the questions that I think Kelly Reeves asked was, Brian, you had mentioned that new consultant activity and hopping into the business right away is a super strong indicator of what they'll do in the long run. So Kelly had asked how many of those new consultants in June signed up for conference.
I don't have specific June numbers.
Okay.
What I can tell you is, now, is everyone sitting down? Because I don't want to be responsible for hurting anyone. We have over 18,000 people registered for national conference.
Okay, and I actually have to spin off this. On our Black Jacket call, Judy asked us, she goes, you guys, what number do you think we should put out there just as a goal for Black Jacket? And we were like 5,000, 10,000. I remember Megan Slate saying 20,000. In my mind, I'm going, Megan, you are always so optimistic and I love you, but that's like impossible. And when they kept updating us on the numbers, I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. So good job, Megan Slate. I love her.
And I can tell you, let me hold on real quick. That came from, yes. Oh, where'd it go? There we go.
And I think that's just a great example of how our field and our corporate staff have done an amazing job just turning the ship to adapt to the environment we're in. Like, we didn't miss a beat.
We had over 2,600 people earn it for free
Wow.
from
Wow.
last month.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
The other question that was asked was, you know, I think you said about 75% of new engaged last month when they joined. What's the normal percentage on average?
I don't have that right in front of me. I'm going to guess it's probably about half, about closer to 50%. But let me, Lindsay, if you don't mind, I'll look back and circle back and send that to you and Suzanne so you can kind of have a better gauge on that. But 75% is huge. It's phenomenal.
Cool.
Any other questions
you
you
noticed?
have? Feel free to use the chat feature. I just know, you know, numbers do, like Brian always says, numbers tell a story. And you guys, I don't see this slowing down. Like, this isn't just the season of a pandemic. I feel like the pandemic is really a jumping board for Norwex to be received by the greater population. And so, you know, when Judy had talked about assuming things would kind of start to slow down, when they initially, when, you know, economists were looking at March and they're like, well, things should slow down by around June, we're actually picking up at a rapid speed with no sales and no joining incentives. And it's going crazy, which is a beautiful and wonderful thing. Of course, we have to deal with other issues because of that. But I love that Brian is sharing this because it helps you guys as leaders really be equipped with information so that when you do run into either frustrations on your team or when you're even sharing the business opportunity, like, we should have 100% confidence in where Norwex is going right now and how they fit in our culture and our market and the world. So like Brian had mentioned, confidence, like people are drawn to confidence. They want to go with somebody who's like, we're going this way, who wants to join us? And I think I really love hearing this, because I'm like, you have no reason not to feel 100% confidence in who Norwex is and what they're doing and where they're going.
Absolutely.
And really, we really started to see things shift in November. You know, November we started to see the sales and team building shift a little bit. December was a record-breaking month, coming into leadership conference. You know, again, a great leadership conference for everyone that was there. And that song "Rise Up" still every morning. I hear it in my head. And the one thing that I will probably never get out of my head is when those guys started singing, the whole audience just stood up at once. And who knew how significant that song would be for us in 2020. So, you know, this is you guys. This is your future. This is what you hold for others. And so just know that everything that we do, everything we're thinking about is how we can continue to improve. We're not sitting back saying, wow, this is good. You know, let's just ride this out. It's okay. How do we talk differently? How does this look 3 months from now? What do meetings need to look like? All these things that we're going through. I can honestly say that many departments have never worked harder. And the sales and the events team and the training team have never worked harder. Imagine, you know, we really thought, okay, 10, 12,000 for national or for virtual national conference, 18,000 people. Awesome.
Amazing.
You have done an amazing job. Thank you.
There was one other question on that, Brian. How many people for last year, last national conference, what was the registration? I wanted to say it was like around 3,000 or just under.
It was under 3.
That was like 2,800 or something like that.
Yeah, it was about 2,800, and then at leadership conference it was 1,700, something like that. 1,800.
And now I know that a lot of the leaders even on this call are newer, because we've seen people join and see a lot of success right away. And so maybe this is your first leadership conference for you. One of the things that we have found is that people who attend conference are 7 times more productive in their business. Of course, it's going to be a little bit different this year with virtual, but I'm very excited about the change up, because sometimes a change up is good for everybody's business, helps you think through things a little bit differently. But if you are new and you have not attended conference yet, the reason why it is such a big deal is because the direction that people tend to go coming out of conference tends to be on a success road. And so that's why we get excited when we see that increase like that, and when we see new consultants hop in and then sign up for conference. That's why as leaders, we spend a lot of time personally inviting people to join us at conference, because we see, and a lot of us are products of that first conference. I know Suzanne is, I 100% am. I would equate every place that I've come to this point was because of that first conference. And so it's a big deal. And Brian, I don't know if you can hop in on this and give us any, but if people join at this point, or if there are people who are still maybe interested and they haven't had a chance, or, you know, they were waiting on family situations to see if they can attend, can they still sign up?
Totally, they can still sign up. The only thing that they won't receive is just some of the window cloth, those type of things initially. You know, we had a certain amount that we made, so you know, it's as Lindsay said a little bit ago, it's a good problem to have. They can sign up. I believe it's until the 24th. That's
Awesome.
That's one of the best things is we can send a link out. That's easy. You know, here's the one thing I would challenge, if I can be bold and challenge Lindsay and Suzanne.
Of course.
Okay. I would challenge you to each person on your team who's attending national conference, get real specific with their goals from national conference to the end of the year. I'm sure y'all are going to talk about that, but invite them to share their goals with you, and help them understand why that's important, because what they see, if they've never attended something like this, what they see is a much larger picture. What they see is the new products. What they hear is from Debbie and from Judy and from amazing leaders throughout that week. And so equip them with the knowledge that they're going to want to start setting goals, because those goals, as Lindsay said, once they've been there, once they've seen it, once they've heard it, their ability to take off and go is exponential.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Okay, well, why don't I recap just quick how Dream Team, my entire downline, and then Team Legacy, Lindsay's downline, did for June, because you guys, these numbers are amazing. So
Mind-boggling. They're crazy.
I know, it's insane. So when I look at Dream Team, my downline, June sales were $7,055,662. That is crazy, you guys. That's just an amazing June. Team Legacy.
Now, I do want to say, we also have Megan, Slate, and Min. I mean, that really helps.
They help, yep.
And April Saylor, some of those top sellers, that helps.
Team Legacy, you guys were just under 2 million. So 1,975,868. So of my entire downline, you guys accounted for 28% of the sales, which is amazing. Lindsay, do you know ballpark how many consultants you have in your downline? I forgot to ask you that ahead of time.
About 4,000.
Okay, so you're, and my downline's about 18,000. So you guys are about 22% of the people, and you accounted for 28% of the sales. So well done.
We pride ourselves on being overachievers.
You are, and team building even more so. So Brian said, there's 4,900 new consultants in June, roughly. 852 of those came from Dream Team, with 248 being in Team Legacy. So you guys were 29% of my entire downline when it came to bringing on new consultants. So yay, like big applause for there. Mm-hmm. So that's fantastic. So did I already say that means we accounted for about 17% of all of the US? Which is really cool. June leader promotions. Okay, Team Legacy, you guys did amazing on this. We had, my downline had 105 new leadership promotions. 34 of those came from Team Legacy. So very exciting. We had some senior leader promotions that we're really excited about. And I think we've got both Katie Barnett and Melissa Thomas on with us. And I had asked them each to share. Katie, if I'm not seeing you on my screen at the moment, but if you're on, can you unmute? And would you want to start with just sharing one tip for other leaders who may be planning a promotion month? Because EVP is huge. You had to get 400 people to engage. That is a lot of people.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me all right? I think we went over a little bit too, so that was exciting. I think that what my biggest takeaway from it was what promoting to you looks like doesn't have to be what it looks like for all other, there's not this prescribed way to do it. And so feel your team out, feel what it is that encourages them, because I went big for a promotion in March, and I did the things that I thought I needed to do, and I checked the boxes, and I went live every night, and I had this beautiful calendar that I spent hours on, and I sent letters to everybody, and I hand wrote everything, and I spent so much time and so much money. And when it came down to it last month, it was about everybody just coming together, feeling excited, learning about what this could mean for our team. And we did were donating to a cause, and it did not require, I mean, and not to say that those things aren't great, they're just not what motivates my team. And so I think that just staying true to yourself and your team, and doing what feels best and right for you when it comes to a promotion is, I mean, I'm glad I tried something new in March, and granted the world ended, so it wasn't going to happen. But this month felt like much more or June felt much more of felt like a heart and soul promotion, the way we do things. And it was great. So it was a good learning experience for me, for sure.
So Katie, you mentioned you contributed to a cause on behalf of your team. I know Melissa did too, so I want to ask you about that first. Like, tell me about that.
We've done it a couple of times. We did it in November, and just basically we said that for every person engaged, I would donate $1, or we would donate $1 as a team. And then if we reached our goal, that I would double it. And then somebody else said they'd add to that. And we have leaders who are also, they were like, well, if we get there, we want to put in 50, we want to do 20. So we ended up with almost $2,000 to donate to. It's hard to find a cause that I feel like everybody would get behind. And so it was really funny. I just started searching. I saw a commercial about homeless children and how they're being affected by COVID. And I was like, that's what we donate to. Like there are children on the streets right now. Like who doesn't care about children that need help? And so I just started researching, and I found an organization in California, but they're in California and Canada. It's called the Covenant House, and they have like this 3-step way. So it was just something that, like, I loved how they were going about their outreach. And then it turned out that we actually knew, one of our leaders knew the CEO of this company, or this nonprofit. And so that was really special, because it was something that, you know, it wasn't just like donating to some great big umbrella organization. And so we took time to kind of talk about that and learn about the company and or the nonprofit. And it's just neat. It's just something for people to care about, aside from, thank you, you know, just making money. It's, you know, it gave us something to really do together. And so it's pretty special.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing, and huge congratulations.
Thank you.
Melissa, I'm going to unmute you. So Melissa Thomas' Team Achievers, also promoted to Executive Vice President in, what month are we in?
June.
June. I almost said March. I was stuck on what Katie was saying. I'm like, it is not March. Thank goodness it's not still March.
Yeah.
But I asked Melissa to share about like what it's like, mindset, middle of the month, when you think, you know what, I'm not so sure. I think I might want to quit. Because Melissa, you finished several days early. Right? But still, there's that point in the middle of the month. And so I wanted you to just share a little bit about that, and how you keep your mindset going with, no, we're still going to go.
Yeah. Well, you call Suzanne Holt, go, hey, Suzanne. No, and Katie, hats off to you, because that's kind of where we were at as well. I've worked with homeless children for 9 years, and it just occurred to me, like May, our numbers were so strong, and my heart started to sing. And then all of a sudden it occurred to me that our mission at Norwex is to keep children safe and have a safe haven for children. And that's truly what, you know, we do with children who need our extra care, with serving them in other capacities as well. So I basically went live and started to cry. And then it's an amazing thing that we can do with Norwex. So that's how I started the month. And then, so I got halfway through the month, and all of a sudden it was like the needle didn't move, where I was like, okay, I'm at the 20th. And like any smart person, you reach out to other people. You message Lindsay or Suzanne or somebody else. You reach up to your mentors, you reach over across, and you say, okay, now what do I do? And I talked to the fabulous Carmel, who was, you know, cheering me on the whole way. And that's why we work with other people. And that's how we're united at Norwex. This is not just about us. Kelly Purdy on my team, ran wild. She said that too. She's like, okay, I'm in. And Janice and Kendra and Kirsten. And so it's truly, as you promote, you get more and more of this, like, you're just you're a team at every level, and it just really becomes overwhelming. Like, wow, we are a team interlocked. You grow stronger as you grow bigger too. And so, at the halfway point, I called Suzanne and I go, I can't quit, right? And she's like, no, you can't quit. You don't quit until noon on the first. And what I would say I learned from that is, like Lindsay said, the commitment is there, the confidence. You have to have the confidence with it. And I really hadn't, you guys, here's me coming true to you. I hadn't really tried. I had never really tried to promote before. I didn't feel our team was ready. And I was like, and a couple of times I just did drawings, and doing drawings isn't promoting. It's kind of like going to a party and saying, hey, does anybody here want to host a party, and leaving it flat like that and not asking every person at checkout. The same thing is true when you go to promote. You talk to every person and you really get to know your team and the people. That's what's important with this. It's about the people, and it's all the people on the team working together toward a common goal. And if you can make it more fun, well, that's great, and get creative and put your heart in it, because heart and soul, like Katie said, is totally what it's about. So you get to dig deep, and you get to go, why am I doing what I'm doing? Because this is hard. It is a little bit like birthing a baby. You go through it and you're like, this hurts. Like, this is a lot. This is like, my kids are cheering me on. I had one, because we actually had 3 causes and I let people vote. So my oldest was in charge of voting, and she would get the graph ready to show like who we're voting for. And my son was like running numbers. My daughter was like packaging stuff out. So everybody got into it. We had a board that we put everything on. We had a prayer board at the top, Michael Bolton at the top, and then we had all of our numbers down below. And that was our focus for the month, was external, what we're doing in the bigger picture. And so you can't walk away from that. You just keep going, and you go, wow. And then the people that were contacting me going, I needed this in my life. I needed Norwex. We don't know where our grocery money's coming from, and this was huge. So thank you for I cried when I got this message. Thank you for encouraging me to reach out this month, because I actually got orders, and that was what I spent my grocery money on. I'll cry again. So don't give up, because your team needs that connection. They need you. And it's like your team might be 3 people, and that's awesome. And then it's all awesome. It just gets better and better.
Yeah, I always
The
love
long answer,
testimonies
sorry.
during promotion month. Isn't it cool when you hear from people that normally you don't hear from, and then you find out how it's changing their
Thanks.
lives. So thanks, Melissa.
Thanks.
I would say
Thank
also,
you.
just to piggyback off of those, you guys, you learn a few things when you go through a few promotions. And one of the things that I've learned is that the season of the month tends to look very similar no matter which promotion you're going through. And you start strong, and that first week is always exciting, and you feel like on top of the world, and you're like, we're going to do this. And then you get to that second and third week, and really in that third week where you feel like, oh my gosh, we can't do this. You feel like emotionally exhausted already. You see a huge dip in numbers because the people who are planning to engage already did. And now but then you get to that end and you're like, do I give up? Like, I remember that with my Black Jacket promotion I called Deanna. I was like, we can't do it. I'm looking at the numbers. I'm seeing who's the commitment. I'm like, we can't do it. And she's like, Lindsay, you are not going to do this again. Get on the phone and finish the race. And I did. And so you need those people. But just know, like, there is a journey in every promotion month. It is a roller coaster that tends to be very typical. And so I think that's where, when you're thinking about promotions, lean into the people who have gone before you, because they can be that calm voice for you because they've gone through it. And some promotions turn into not yet. That is okay. I've been through those. Other people have been through those. And you learn from those. So, but just know, like, there is a typical journey. Every new consultant or new leader who's going through is like, oh my gosh, we're not going to make it. I'm like, yeah, I know that. So you're in week 3, right? Like, that's where you are. And they're like, yes. I'm like, it's okay. You're going to keep going. So, anyway.
And that last day, can I just add that 60 people signed up for national conference when we made it, like that. Of course, it's the deadline and everybody waits, but 60 people, you guys. And because I was communicating with them and we were texting and we had project broadcast chats and 60 new people, I checked my numbers for conference and it was like, boom. So that's just feeding that energy and that knowledge
Yeah.
and awakening the people that want to be awakened.
For sure. Congratulations, Melissa and Katie. Those are huge promotions that your teams had. And to the many others on this call who have been promoting the last couple months, it's been a wild and wonderful ride, and we plan to see that really just continue. So Suzanne, am I good to keep going here?
Yes, please do.
Okay. So one of the things, I gotta get back to my agenda here. Okay. One of the things that I have been trying to be more conscious of with my leaders is, and trying to set a better example even for this is, we as leaders cannot be the resource, the one-stop shop and for people. And I have found my health has significantly been impacted because I love serving people. I love serving my team. I love being able to point them in directions. But we cannot be training newer leaders, those TCs and sales leaders, and even your ESLs, you guys, if you are in that role, we cannot be training them that we have all of the answers. We need to understand where the resources are in Norwex. And the reason why I encourage you to do that is because when you grow your team larger than 3, because 3, it's manageable. You can manage all of those questions, you can manage those messenger threads, but when you grow to 20, and 30, and you start getting your first TC, and then they have their things, it's not a model that can be reproduced. So you need to know where Norwex's resources are and not be afraid to point your team members to the resources. Now, a lot of teams will have their own resources that are already set up, but then you also have Norwex resources. So instead of, if you're a leader coming in, I have some fantastic new leaders who are just rolling. And I'm like, don't worry about creating new trainings. Like Norwex has a training for every topic under the sun. Like we don't need to be creating new trainings. Send people to the resource. So I think think through as leaders. I'm going to give you the top ones that I've been really trying to put into my new consultant onboarding, to be putting on my team page at the beginning of, or at the end of every month when I'm doing recognition. I'm reminding new team members where their resources are. So it's constantly, they're seeing these 4 to 5 resources always. So what I have for those, let me find those, theresource.com, obviously, consultant care. Again, a lot of times there's very easy questions that get sent our way. And, but what I found is, with 275 to 300 people in my group, if I send out a message about masks and I put all the information somewhere and I'm like, if you have questions, call consultant care. If I don't have that, I get 25 texts back with questions that were either in that document or they can call consultant care about. And I can't spend my time going individually through things where I'm like, call consultant care. So, so I think don't be afraid to send people to consultant care. They are also ramping up consultant care. So be patient in this time as they're training people and really trying to grow that team, but send people that way. Ask Nora, of course, back office, of course. And then here is a huge one. Most of us have team pages on Facebook, or you're a part of a team page. Consultants need to learn to use the search tool. There's so much content that is already in those team pages about how to run Facebook parties, how to host as coach, like questions about products. And so a lot of times it's just a matter of just use the search tool. And so I've tried to be more diligent recently of saying, use the search tool. Like I could answer that and it would be a quick answer, but all I'm training my team to do is to continue to ask the questions instead of going and finding the answers. And at the end of the day, we want empowered people who know where to find answers, because if they don't and they start recruiting, guess what they're teaching their new team members to do? Exactly what they're doing. Oh, just go on our team page and ask. Oh, just ask Lindsay. Just ask Carrie. Just ask Melissa. Just ask Suzanne. And really, we're not actually equipping them to know how to find answers to things. And the reason why I bring this up is because of the great growth that we're seeing. You guys, your teams, some of our teams are growing really fast, and it's not possible to manage it. And so we need to start looking at systems and really funneling people to a system. Of course, you're going to still be personal with people, but we need to be wise with our time. where you are going to find yourself in a situation where you're like, I'm not seeing my family very much. I'm feeling overwhelmed. And we don't want that. So you need to start thinking in terms of, okay, what can I put in place where even if my team grows, I can still send them in this direction or create this system that will really help grow with my growth on my team. So be thinking about that. I really think it will help save you as a leader, and it will help you manage your time as well. Any questions about that, or Suzanne?
No, I'm just gonna second that. That's one of the things I learned the hard way as a leader, I think, is when I started, I felt like, oh yeah, I want to be there for everybody and answer all these questions. And it's impossible to keep up. And I even had it happen, about 6 months ago. I had a new consultant that, she just kept texting me the questions, and for a long time I kept answering. And then one day I was like, oh, I'm in a meeting. You're gonna need to look on the resource for that, and then I can check in with you when I'm done with the meeting. And by the time I finished my meeting, she had texted me, oh my goodness, do you realize all of the information that's on the resource? And I'm like, oh, why didn't I just tell you no sooner? But sometimes just not giving them the answer right away is the best thing that you can do for people.
Yep.
So.
And the other thing that I have really told myself, the higher up I got in leadership, is the people who have gone before me, who I really respect, and honestly, who make a lot of money and develop a lot of leaders. I look at Suzanne and Chris and Sonia, and when they started, they did not have leaders handing everything to them. They did not have leaders walking them through every step of the process. So much of their success was because they had to figure some things out on their own. So I think sometimes we feel like people's success is really dependent on us. And it's not bad to wait to respond, to give people time, because when they own their business, they'll actually be more successful in the long run than if they're dependent on you for their success. You do not want that.
Right. So true. Yes, we really had nobody give us anything. It was crazy. We just figured it out on our own. When you talk about going to conference, let's see how long. I'd been a consultant 7 months before I went to conference. And I remember that was the first time I realized that the dry mop pad didn't have backlock in it. Because we had no training. We were just figuring stuff out as we went along. And I was in the hotel room with 2 other consultants, and I'm like, oh my goodness, did you know it didn't have backlock? They were all like, no, we thought it had backlock. But so you do much better if you learn, work to learn things. So we are kind of, wow, we have already been talking 50 minutes, Lindsay.
I counted Brian. Brian counted 23. So
yeah, he was supposed to talk for just a couple. So all right,
we'll fly through these next couple.
But 30-day booking challenge, you guys. I hope you are utilizing this in your team pages. Norwex had put together the master list of challenges, and then I had my assistant break it out into 30 different posts. If you don't have that link, it's posted in the Dream Team Leaders group. I think, Lindsay, it's probably posted in your leaders group as well. But it's super easy to just get those posts broken out individually into your team pages. So for my personal group, I am challenging them every day to work through the tasks, and then I'm doing drawings and doing giveaways. So, we want to incentivize the behavior that we want them to repeat, right? And I want them focused on booking. So it's super easy to do drawings for people who engage and submit 250. But right now I really want the focus in my personal group to be on, okay, let's get some bookings and do host coaching and do follow-up and make sure we're headed in for a really strong fall selling season. If your team members don't have bookings on their calendar now, it's going to be really hard for them to ramp up in the fall. So you want to get them focused on that in June. Don't let people take the summer off. Erica's saying you're doing it with your team. Great. You're the only one that's commenting. I would say, that might be an issue of, are they even seeing the posts? So maybe send texts out to a couple of people, Erica, that you think would really benefit from doing them, and say, hey, did you see the challenges I'm doing in the team page? You could win some fun stuff and grow your business at the same time. With the team pages, Katie Barnett's our expert on Facebook, but engagement is important. If nobody's commenting, Facebook isn't really even going to be showing them future posts. So you've got to get them commenting and liking and interacting in that group. Any other success stories on the 30-day challenge or questions about it?
Suzanne, I'd love to piggyback off it with conference coming up. So if you guys have any questions about the 30-day challenge, go ahead and ask those and we'll get those answered. But one of the things that I have learned in the last couple of years is it's really important what you focus on with your teams the month or two before conference and then the month coming out of conference. So if you think about what happens at conference, a lot of times people get really excited to share the mission and business opportunity. And because they've got vision all of a sudden. And so we've got 18,000 people. Oh, Carrie, we can check on that. Let me see if we can make that happen for you. So when you have 18,000 people who are ready to go to conference, you can darn well bet that our growth that happens in August and September in Norwex is going to be out of this world crazy. So as a leader, it's really important for us to be thinking about, okay, if we're planning, assume that your team is going to grow quite a bit in August and September. One, that's good for mindset anyway, but two, it should help you plan now. So one of the reasons that Norwex is running a 30-day booking incentive is because when you have parties on your calendar, guess how much easier it is to recruit people. And so I know our team last month, we had several booking challenges, and part of that is because I want June and July to be heavy focused on bookings because people are going to recruit along the way, of course. But if you go into August with heavy bookings and you have vision for the business opportunity, now you're looking at pretty amazing growth. And not only are you going to see growth, but you're going to see growth from parties, which usually means if you're recruiting at a party, people are seeing what you're doing and they're going to do what you do. You're going to see productivity on your team increase. So what I would encourage you to do is, as a leader, is be thinking about what do I want to do in my team in August and September. Do I want to look at joining incentives? Do I want to in September and October maybe do a TC type training? Maybe it's a one-night thing where it's like, how do you get to TC? Because you're going to assume you're going to see growth in August and September. So I love to look at the business in 3-month increments, really. And so if you haven't really started focusing on bookings yet in July, it's not too late to pick up where we are in the month with the 30-day booking challenge, or create your own. It doesn't have to be. Last month I did, our team has been partying like crazy. So I just did a 5-party booking incentive and I gave away some amazing, really awesome stuff because I'm like, people are hitting this 5-party booking party thing, no problem. So what does it look like for you? It's something that I love that Katie said is, where are you at as a leader and where's your team at? Engage there. It's not going to look the same for all of you. So really look at what will move the needle just a little bit on my team in July to get them to start booking parties, because you want a strong calendar going into August. So when they come out excited that they already have the starting platform of parties. So the other thing you're going to want to look at then is if you're a newer team or your team is not maybe as confident in sharing the business opportunity. So if they have vision coming out of conference, but they're like, I'm not sure what to do now. Maybe you run a simple challenge. It's not like how many are you recruiting, but how many conversations are you having and what do those conversations look like? So again, but be thinking, if I want August and September to be focused on team building, what are all the different aspects of team building? How can I really pour into my team for team building? And again, it's at the end of the month, it's not just about the number. It's how are we actually encouraging and building confidence in our team so they feel like they can share it? What are word choices they can use? Again, go to the resources that are already out there to find them, or share. I know a lot of our team members, our leaders, are friends. They work together. They share ideas all the time. Get in your group of friends and say, hey, you guys, can we share some verbiage on how you guys share the business opportunity? Put a little document together, share it with your teams. But I would encourage you to ride the wave of the journey that Norwex has us on, and that is, booking right now, we're going to be heading into vision and business opportunity, which sends us into the strongest selling season of the year. I would not focus on sales right now because the product is selling without any help. It's selling without any sales. So it's really then looking at what do my bookings look like and then the business opportunity. So be thinking of that as a leader. That's really my encouragement to you. Think about what that could look like. If you want to brainstorm with a couple of other leaders of like, hey, what do you think you might do in August? What is that going to look like for your team? If you're not sure, press into those leaders that are around you to share some ideas.
Great. And I did put the link to the resource in the chat box. So that is there for you, Carrie.
And Carrie was asking if we could have a direct link to the resource on the back office, which should be a no-brainer. I feel like that should be there, an easy link to the resource.
Oh,
So-
okay. And it is, but it's, let's see. It's just if you go to training, then the first thing under that is new training site.
So I think she knows that you can get there. I think she was just looking for like an easy click.
And it actually, okay, so I'm looking now. It is right when you log in on your dashboard, there's in green, kind of right in the middle of the left side of the page, it says the resource, new training site. You can click on that and it'll take you there. Isn't that amazing how we make things happen?
Voila. Do you, Suzanne, want to talk about money really quick?
Yeah, I was gonna say we might want to skip some of these things, but are you guys amazed at your paychecks? Because I know I am. Like I don't know. I sit there and I'm like so thankful, but it's just phenomenal. And so I want to share just a couple of quick things. First, mindset, like going into March. I heard from so many people, like just, oh my goodness, nobody's going to want to buy anything. and you know, worries about income. And the people that had that mindset, they're not doing parties and they're not selling anything. But the people who looked at this as, wow, we've got the right product in the right distribution mode for the right time in history, and I'm going to make it work. Those people are doing amazing things in their business, and they're changing the lives of their customers, but they're also completely changing their family's financial future. And so it's always how you look at it. And I always go back to when I started in 2008 was the last real recession. And there's no doubt Norwex absolutely saved our family financially, because I had a way to go out and earn the income I needed to pay our mortgage. So just keep that always in front of you, that we don't really know whose life we can change by offering them the business opportunity. Because when I look back at myself back then, you know, I was a certified financial planner. Most people would assume things were going well, but the fact was some things had happened in my job where we needed the income. So just keep offering this, you guys. There's going to be more and more people looking for either a side gig or really a way to replace their full-time income, especially when we see the extra unemployment benefits come off. I think we're going to see a huge recruiting opportunity there. I got a text this morning from a leader on my team, and she said I could share this to you. I said I can share it anonymously, and she's like, no, you can use my name. So a lot of you know Jennifer Boom. She promoted to Executive Vice President Sales Leader, otherwise known as Black Jacket, in May, and she texted me this morning that she paid off $71,000 of student loan debt just in a few months this year. Like that was going to be more a mid to long-term goal. And because of what she was seeing in her Norwex business with her personal sales and her leadership income, she was able to do that in just a few months. And now she said they're able to focus on starting to save for their kids so that their kids don't graduate college with student loan debt. And stuff like that. Like, it sounds amazing. It's like those Dave Ramsey pictures, you know, where people are like paid off X amount of debt. But they're absolutely changing their families' lives financially with Norwex. And so I want to make sure we always keep sight of that. We might not talk about it a lot publicly, but really some amazing things are happening. Does anybody want to share anything, any testimony about what the Norwex income has been able to do for your family recently? Everybody's smiling, but
Katie,
They're
just bought a
laughing.
boat.
I have a new boat sitting in front of my house right now. I text Allison Walsh and I was like, so I could be saving for my children's future, but I thought maybe I'd just make their childhood more fun. So we bought a boat.
Actually, Katie, that's so funny you say that, because I had a conversation with a leader who promoted recently, and her husband wanted to buy a boat, and she's like, no, we're not buying a boat, we're paying off the mortgage or something like that. And I said, honestly, that's how I felt when Kurt first wanted to buy this fancy boat. And looking back, it's one of the best investments for our family because it's such fun family time. So I am fully in favor of buying boats. Good job.
In my defense, we have paid off all of our debt over the last 3 months, aside from home debt. And I think we have like a lease on a car, but all of our credit card debt is gone. And so yeah, everything has kind of changed and it's been amazing. The boat was, same thing though. We're like, this is something that our family can do where our kids, like, we're going to be forced to a small area of fun.
And it's great family time. If you have little kids, and anything you can do to invest in family time really pays off. For us, my boys were just about to turn 3 and 6 when I started Norwex, and now they're coming up on their 15th and 18th birthdays. So the family time is super precious.
These comments are awesome, you guys. Suzanne, you need to read through these comments. They're awesome. Just really fun to see you guys if you didn't have that income, and how that's changed your family. So I love that. Love reading through these.
Yeah, the phrase that's really come to my mind so often the past few months when hearing people's Norwex stories is financial freedom.
Yep.
You know what? So many people look towards this mysterious retirement someday, and I look at, like, my mom's in direct sales and she loves what she does. So even though I think she's about to be 74 or 75, she's still working and loving it. But there's a point, like, we can just work towards financial freedom where, yeah, if you want to go buy a boat, Katie, go buy a boat, and not have to worry about it. So just Norwex is such a blessing. Kelly, I love yours.
Go ahead and keep posting those things. I just have one more thing that I'm just going to mention, and Suzanne, I don't want to leave this out because we have so many TCs to sales leaders to ESLs, and again, a lot of you have been in the business for a while, but many of you have not. You're newer. And I think it's very easy, especially when you're part of a larger team, to see what are higher level leaders doing and to feel like you need to be doing what higher level leaders are doing. So we just want to reiterate that 90% of your time as a Norwex consultant should be on your personal business. It should not be in creating training. It should not be in answering questions on your team pages. It should not be, team stuff. 90% is on your personal business, which is book, sell, build, for you personally. And so if you're like, oh, I didn't know that, just that should be freeing for you in a lot of ways. And which again is another reason why we just like to have these calls, because it's just a good reminder. You're hearing from us, like, yes, that is where you should be spending your time, because if you don't spend your time there, you actually don't have a business. There is no business to grow if you don't have a personal business. So 90%, that's where you are going to want to be spending your time, especially as a team coordinator, sales leader, and an ESL.
Absolutely. And if you're focusing on strong personal business, that also is giving you the opportunity to let your team members shadow you. So if somebody wants to learn how to do a party, fantastic. Watch one of mine.
Absolutely.
You don't need to spend an hour talking them through it. Show them how to do it.
Absolutely.
And
you're also, your team income check will grow exponentially if you are modeling that model. Your team income check, you will see grow significantly, because what you are doing is what Suzanne just said. You're modeling partying, and then they come in and that's what they know. So then they do that. And then when they bring somebody in, just having recruiting conversations now is natural for them because that's what you modeled. They're all partying because that's what you modeled. And all of a sudden you're finding that where your checks were maybe $50 or $40, Now they're jumping to 500, and then they're 2,000 and 3,000, and then all of a sudden you're finding yourself in the $7,000 to $8,000 range, and you're like, what has happened? It's because you're focusing on your personal business. That is the key equation to all of it.
Exactly. And I love that this testimony from Gina Mendoza just really echoes what you just said, Lindsay. She said, I just promoted to sales leader in May. My commission checks were small before, $23, $6, $79. In May, she earned $312. In June, adding 3 team members, her commission check shot up to $941.
Yes.
That is an awesome testimony. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's 150, I think, 150% growth month over month. Is that right, Suzanne? 3 times?
3 times would be 300%.
Well, okay, you know, my math is not there. 3 times, I know it's 3 times, but you guys, 3 times, if you look at your paycheck in June and you're like, okay, if I just add 2 or 3 team members, and it, you know, I'm like, look at the growth that happened month over month, 3 times. So that's not a small task, but that also is a good reminder, because I've had several conversations with leaders in the last couple of months who have a strong party calendar. They're partying 15 and 20 times a month, but their recruiting is low. And I really challenge them to say, do you know where your long-term income is coming from? Like, you're getting this quick, amazing $6,000 checks, which is a lot of money. But I'm like, you could be swinging that income over to your leadership commission and adding that on, and then also having an additional $6,000. So again, it's trusting the process. We know sales are immediate, but that leadership commission is where you're going to see that growth on the chart start to go like this. As long as you're being very consistent in your personal business.
Exactly. Katie, I love that we're watching you make samples. Multitasking at its best. Okay, Lindsay, do you want me to just close with that quote from John Gordon, or is there anything else you had?
I think that's it. Let's close it up. We were going to open it up, and we could even do this after the recording. If you have any questions about the host rewards for this month, I want to make sure that you guys as leaders feel like you can ask questions. We know that Brian was on for a little bit longer. We were going to try to take some time to make sure that you guys feel equipped to answer questions related to the host rewards this month. So maybe let's close it out. Suzanne, let's do your final quote, and then maybe turn off the recording. And then anybody who wants to stay, if there's any questions, we can maybe just facilitate that.
Okay, perfect. All right, so you guys, I posted this last night too, but I read this from John Gordon yesterday, and I thought that kind of sums up how I live my life. And it's from his book, The Power of Positive Leadership. And he says, no matter what anyone says, just show up and do the work. If they praise you, show up and do the work. If they criticize you, show up and do the work. If no one even notices you, just show up and do the work. Just keep showing up, doing the work, and leading the way. Lead with passion, fuel up with optimism. Have faith, power up with love. Maintain hope, be stubborn, fight the good fight, refuse to give up, ignore the critics, believe in the impossible, show up, do the work. You'll be glad you did. And isn't that like, don't you think that that just speaks to what a lot of senior leaders have just done day after day for years? There's no magic formula. It's just every day we just keep showing up and sharing Norwex. And I firmly believe it's as easy as that.
100%.
Okay, I'll stop the recording and then we can chat here.